How y'all doing staying out of those horrible wars? Should I remind you that the great rule kind of for us in regard to foreign nations is in extending our commercial relations to have with them as little political connection as possible. One of the more memorable proceedings that I hope people will listen to, wink wink.
Washington, your opinion is outdated. The world must be made safe for democracy. Its peace must be planted upon the tested foundations of political liberty. Our democracy will not survive if we do not make the rest of the world stable and prosperous.
I can already tell this is going to be a lengthy conversation. Since I'm sitting across from you, you're lucky I haven't used the Second Amendment yet, Woodrow.
That's an unprofessional thing to say. However, I guess since you were a general, that's technically part of your profession, isn't it?
Yes, but that doesn't mean I can't keep the United States out of war and European affairs.
Interesting. Or weren't you part of Jay's treaty?
They own Canada, our own neighbors. You said it yourself. You wanted to go to war. In the end, the friend of humanity will deprecate war, wheresoever it may appear, including Europe.
But you still brought upon an indirect form an alliance that many Republicans thought that the terms were overly favorable to the British.
Honestly, Woodrow, I have to speak up. Washington is right, bro. We can't go around screwing with other people's affairs, not just in Europe, but all over the world. I'm an anti-imperialist. I'm opposed to having the eagle put its talons on any other land. Interventionism is the exact way we get into wars.
Calm down, Mr. Twain. Let's not get into a civil war here. As a great compromiser, I, Henry Clay, and want to know when a war or any type of military conflict is based purely off of political gain. I think instead of fighting each other based off of differences, we should celebrate our similarities. After all, war unhinges society, disturbs its peaceful and regular industry, and scatters poisonous seeds of disease.
That is true, but this is exactly why we need to exert our influence all over the world through imperialism. When we influence other countries in this way, we avoid war. We cannot sit huddled within our borders and avow ourselves merely an assemblage of well-to-do hucksters who care nothing for what happens beyond.
Let me get in on this conversation. I agree that we should have strong influence all over the world, but we should do so through alliances. We should emphasize the establishment of a global community, free for trading and abundance with peace. For me, trade is who we are. We're traders. We want to be involved in the global economy, but not be played for suckers.
Hillary, alliances only get us entangled in other people's affairs, and that can only lead to war. We have our own problems to deal with. We can't take on other people's too. It should be our true policy to steer clear of permanent alliance with any portion of the foreign world.
Hey, times have changed, Washington. Diplomacy and communication are never off the table. War is. Communicating with people is very important to our everlasting struggle. It helps us resolve our own problems too.
Hillary, you need to chill out. It's not 2016 anymore.
Shut up, Theodore.
Whoa. It seems like things have gone a bit heated. I just need to remind y'all that I'm an isolationist, okay? The only difference between you and me is that I don't want America involved in foreign affairs or alliances. You want to keep peace, just like Roosevelt? I'm just afraid that you would get America entangled. And seeing the way you handled Benghazi, I wouldn't be surprised.
What? You? Never mind.
Can I have some recognition here? Think about it. The only reason I'm here is because of war. Everyone in the Philippines thought that America would be free from the Spanish, but you guys ended up taking us over and adding us to your collection of states. When we protested against this inquisitious ingratitude, then the guns of the United States were turned upon us, We were denounced as traitors and rebels, destroyed the homes to which you have been welcomed as our honored guests, killing the thousands of those who have been your allies, mutilating our old men, our women and our children, and watering with blood and skewing with ruins the beautiful soil of our fatherland. This is what imperialism is actually about. Washington, I truly believe your president is fading away.
Imperialism is truly the most interventionist a nation can get. We become no different than those filthy European monarchs.
Exactly. Imperialism is based off of greed. There is the case of the Philippines. I've tried hard, and yet I cannot for the life of me comprehend how we got into that mess. Perhaps we could not have avoided it. Perhaps it was inevitable that we should come to be fighting the natives of those islands, but I cannot understand it.
Well, I can. You went to the Philippines under the impression that their inhabitants were ignorant savages, and then you set up a double standard of government. Government by consent in America, government by force in the Philippine Islands. You've been deceived from the beginning, and deception is the order of the day. You continue to deceive others by the thought that once the military power is established in the Philippines, the rest is a matter for politicians. You took a wrong step, and you had not sufficient moral courage to retrace it. You know it's true, Teddy. Just admit it for once in your life.
Hey, let's get this straight here. I was only interested in getting rid of European powers from other parts of the world. You may call your fight a revolution, but I call it an insurrection. With me in the middle. You were just an extension of the Monroe Doctrine.
Then why would you give up Cuba, their independence and promise for non-intervention, but not the same for us? Don't they fall directly under the Monroe Doctrine?
Plain and simple. I was committed to getting the Europeans out. This required promising and comprising. It also decreased the death count during the war. I wouldn't know. I was there, fighting with the cavalry. It is not true that the United States feels any land hunger or entertains any projects as regards the other nations of the Western Hemisphere, save as such as are for their welfare. All that this country desires is to see the neighboring countries stable, orderly, and prosperous.
We had no say in the Treaty of Paris that ended the war. It was you and the Spanish. You have expected us to fight against you. Ironically, the Spanish government, whose despotic cruelty American imperialism now imitates, and in some respects surpasses, denied to us many of the liberties in which you were already enjoying when, under the pretext of opposition, you revolted against the British Dominion. That doesn't matter. We must meet the demands of this cruel and ruthless world. That means taking measures to protect you from other countries. If we weren't here to protect you, do you realize where you would be? In case you didn't know, the answer is that in the control of other, crueler world powers, American foreign policy should always be interventionism. We went after you to spread democracy and market freedom. After all, friendship is the only cement that will hold the world together. What's the point then? How the heck is the Philippines supposed to enjoy democracy if it is never given to us? It seems that any European country, when given a chance, will take over as much land as it...
Woodrow, you have a lot of nerve talking that way, especially when you got us entangled in World War I. That kind of language is dangerous, especially for a president. History wasn't made to be dismissed or forgotten. What America was in the beginning was an innocent, non-imperial, self-advocating place of freedom. It's people like you who have changed that.
What happened during the American Revolutionary War shows that the American people fighting against a corrupt and undemocratic institution. That's exactly what I have done during my presidency. We must dare to be great, and we must realize that greatness is a fruit of toil and sacrifice and high courage.
Whoa, sorry to interrupt, but the ensuing debate has long figured the accounts of between the opposing sides of this early republic. It represents an important moment in the young nation's struggles to navigate the foreign policies difficulties presented by almost perpetual states of war between different nations.
Yeah, well, were you ever elected to any kind of public office to serve the nation, Professor? I don't think so.
If we all want to keep America safe, then there's a starting point for compromise.
Yeah, I agree. Here in this conversation, I'm realizing that America's foreign policy has changed a lot over the time.
Washington, I know that when you were president, America didn't have the resources to be involved in other countries' affairs. But today, we do. And by doing so, we can make the world a safer place for everyone.
That's exactly what I was doing, Emilio.
Well, we can all agree to disagree on that one, but Hillary is right. The United States isn't always involved in other countries' affairs. As your population has grown, it seems like you felt more emboldened to interfere in other countries at the risk of war. I've never really thought about it that way. I think you bring about an interesting perspective to the table as an outsider, though. My goal in entering World War I was to have a war to end all wars. But if it were the same situation at the country's founding, I don't think we would have been able to enter the war. We wouldn't have had the population necessary to sustain a military nor the economy to efficiently produce war materials.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. In my time, that was definitely the case. Listening to everyone here, I do think that as time has gone on, our foreign policy has become more interventionist due to our increasing interest in the world economy. America has matured a lot since I was president, and while that's a good thing, it has led us to be more interested in other countries' affairs. We should still be extremely cautious when engaging with other countries, but I understand that we now have the resources and motivation to do so. Indeed, we do, and we should use it to protect our own interest. Isn't that what any good world power does?
That may be the case, Teddy, but we have never been like any other world power. We pioneered democracy, and we should allow other countries to have the same democratic system. That means no imperialism! I thought that we should make other countries as free as ourselves, give them a government and a country of their own, put a miniature of the American Constitution afloat in the Pacific, start a brand new republic to take its place among the free nations of the world. It seemed to me like a great task to which we had entrusted ourselves. However, I know that America cannot do this, as much as we would like to. Teddy, you should stop lying to yourself that we can spread democracy around the world. It's cruel and deceiving!
Calm down, just as I thought. We were about to come to a consensus. We get into another argument.
You're right, Henry. We all have the same interest in keeping America safe. By the way, I've been wondering, who's this extra chair for?